So much traffic in Lagos.
I know. Well, but hopefully everybody's going to be shipping out for Christmas. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Bunmi, we've missed you. It's been a while since you've been on the
I've
show.
missed you guys too.
At D Money Buff, D as in Delilah. I was just talking about the Bankers Committee and the decision to revitalize the National Theatre at a cost of 25 billion naira. And now we're going to get into the money market in a second, but I just wanted to get your thoughts. Where are you on this, on their decision? Because they're saying they want to do it for tourism and a whole number of other reasons.
Well, I read the article and it left me asking questions because I wish there was more information as per what is in it for the banks. Like for instance, for some of the roads now, the government got some of the private participants, private companies to
Mm-hmm.
do up the roads in exchange for tax rebate. So if banks are going to contribute to the revitalization of the National Theatre, what would be in it for them? Would there be some tax rebate, some write-backs in terms of CRR? Will it be taken as a CRS responsibility?
Okay.
How would it be categorized? Is it going to hit their bottom lines? I'm all for revamping of the National Theatre. It needs it. I think they tried to sell it in 2010, but there was a lot of protest on that, so they couldn't do that. And for all the dying aspects or assets that we have, we are going to need some private sector participation. So whichever way it comes is fine for me, as long as it's well structured and it's transparent.
Let me even read the quote from our dear governor, MFL of the central bank. Says what the bankers committee is doing is to help revive dead assets or an asset that is dying that cannot be able to generate its potential revenue as a result of lack of funds and good maintenance.
Yeah.
He sounds like the Minister of Works and Housing. That's what he sounds like when he's talking about reviving dead assets. This is the central bank governor, and I don't know, Bunmi. It does sound like they're overstepping boundaries again. But Lagos, let me know what you think as well. Ifeanyi Okulosi is from Ibai. He says, I think the central bank is really veering off from its core mandate. What connects CBN with the National Theatre? I'm asking the same question. Bunmi, we need help with the money market.
Okay.
Rates are just.
Yeah.
Please go ahead. What's been happening?
Usually as I would be reading out figures to you, but this morning as I was preparing, I was like, what's the essence in telling you what the last stop rate for the Omo auction was if you can't invest in it? Or what's the point in telling you the stop rate for the NTB if it's as low as 5% for the 91 or
Right.
6.8 for the 1 year? So I rather just tell you what its effect will be on the economy, on banks, for you as an individual, and what you can do instead in
Okay.
this low interest rate environment.
Cool. Help us.
Okay. So for the economy, what we're seeing now is actually an aberration. Usually, low interest rates should drive growth, right? And the central bank should use interest rates to moderate inflation.
Right.
But right now, we have low interest rates and a trending upward inflation, which ideally shouldn't be. Ideally, interest rates should be trending up to bring inflation down. So inflation is now being caused because of the closure
Yes.
at
Land
the
borders. Yes.
So I don't think the monetary policy and the fiscal authorities can sustain both a closure of the border and low interest rates. One has to give.
Right.
You understand? So for banks, traditionally, I think the tier 2 banks do better in a low interest rate environment because they do not have as much in low cost funds as the tier 1 banks. So their funding costs will tend to drop now, and you should see an increment in their returns on net returns on revenues, because they are probably funding from tenor deposits and the interbank. So because interest rates are lower now, they should see some higher returns on their funds. On the flip side, for first generation banks, because they have traditionally invested a lot of their low cost funds in federal government instruments which have been at high rates, because the interest rates are so low now, you would probably see a drop in their net returns on revenues. So it will be interesting to see what the last quarter of this year results will be for all banks. Yes, but for us as individuals now, which is the most important thing, where do you put your money?
Right.
For one, I would suggest that for corporates and individuals that have loans currently, pay down your loans.
Okay.
Because loans, interest rates on the upward side, as in for loans, tend to be sticky upwards. As in, banks would generally be quicker to reduce your rates on deposits than they would be to reduce your rates on loans.
Right.
So except you have great negotiating skills to renegotiate the interest rates on your loans, I would suggest find money, pay it down, and then take it again at a lower interest rate.
So refinancing,
So
essentially.
refinance your loans, and if it's an overdraft you have instead, pay it down and don't draw on it again until you can get your banks to lower your interest rate.
Okay.
That's for loans. For if you're looking to invest your
money,
that's
the cocoa.
Yes. So my suggestion, don't be in a hurry. There's a tendency to be in a hurry because you see rates going down, but Nigeria's economy is not developed enough to, in my opinion, sustain policies. I've seen over the years interest rates go up, they come down. If you invest your money for longer than 1 year, in my opinion, you might get stuck. You might see that you have invested at a low interest rate and then rates go up again.
Yeah.
I also see that in the new year, banks, other financial institutions will be churning out products that will mimic treasury bills, but will give you a higher return.
Okay.
So in the immediate, I would say don't invest your money for longer than 90 days.
Okay.
30 days would be ideal, but not longer than 90 days. Wait to see what is churned out in the new year.
Right.
I think you will see more commercial papers, more BAs being issued by corporates, and those instruments will be higher, definitely higher yielding than what we're seeing now in fixed income. So don't be in a hurry. Don't tie your money down in bonds. I know some people are advocating for bonds, but in my opinion, bonds, except you're looking to tie your money down for longer than 2 years, are a risk, because I don't see the interest rates being sustained at these levels for longer than 6 months to 1 year, especially if oil prices tend to change or go downwards.
Right.
Then you would see foreign investors leaving, and then you would see the monetary policy authorities coming in to tighten the market again.
Good stuff. Thank you for the advice. Okay, well, this kind of answers, you already answered Daniel's question, but Daniel says, Bunmi, are these rates going to hold for long? So that's still part of your outlook with where things are.
I know that the central bank is already would try and consolidate on their policy on the LDR, especially as it's seeing traction. I read a report that said they have achieved 5% loan growth. The jury is out on that, because I don't know if it's easier now to get a loan than it was before. But I know that they would want to continue to see to make sure that the policy achieves its purpose. So as per LDR, I think that will be sustained at least for the first quarter of the year. But as per low interest rates, I do not think that it will be sustained longer than 6 months to a year. My opinion.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Isaac here. Where are we to invest if the CBN cannot sustain its policy after 3 months? We'll certainly see another policy. Real returns are in the negative. Inflation is high. Interest rates low. NPR no direction. Revenue will drop, and capital flight is imminent. Isaac with a not very rosy picture for the future there. Emma from Ijegun says, if it costs 25 billion to get up the National Theatre, I wonder how much it will cost to build a new one. Okay. MI from Akoka says, as usual, I give the government an A for good intentions, but banks are not charities. What's the economics behind this very noble move to revive the National Theatre? Banks don't dance to this socialist music, though. They make Chioma B movies. MI with jokes there. Shall we talk about BVN 2.0?
Okay.
This one also came out of the Bankers Committee. And honestly, maybe you can help out, because I was very confused.
Yes, I heard you guys yesterday
on the marketplace. I was guys, you can tune in on the marketplace every Monday at 5:15. So again, this also came out of their meeting, in addition to deciding to revive the National Theatre at 25 billion. Lagos, if you guys also know what this is about, help me. The central bank governor, let me quote him here. He says, we now have about 40 million people on the BVN platform. We think that because of the benefits of BVN to bank customers and the economy, there is a need to consolidate and move BVN to a new level, something like 2.0. This entails, for instance, to reclassify and segregate transactions that could be done on BVN. We have two classifications: existing BVN that we may have in the system, about 18 lines of information. I don't know what that means. He says, we've decided that we'll classify into BVN Premium and BVN Lite. Somebody on Twitter said it sounds like BVN is now a DSTV package. Anyway, so he said there should also be a system where people who are financially excluded can now be included. If you're on BVN Lite, there is a limit to the kind of transactions you can do in terms of deposits and in terms of loans. But me, I thought BVN was identification. What do you
what do I make of this?
Yeah, what do you make of this? Because I'm really confused.
Well, from the story and the little that I know, I think the BVN Lite would probably apply to new enrollees, probably the people that are enrolling in the rural areas. And from the story, they said they're going to engage the help of the NCC, right?
Yeah,
meaning that
the Nigerian Communications Commission.
Yes. So it gives me the impression that they probably want individuals to be able to enroll using their phones, as opposed to going to the banks to enroll as it is now. So if that is the case, 18 fields to fill on a form on a phone would be pretty much. So they probably will narrow down the amount of information that they're asking for. And this is not unusual. You know, some banks have products for people in the diaspora that cannot go to the centers where you can enroll on BVN. They will allow you to open your account online with minimal data, and you can deposit into your account, but you cannot withdraw until you send in the additional information and documents that is required. So for this BVN, like, I assume that is the same thinking behind it. Give us the basic information that will be required to register you on the BVN. Probably they would limit the amount of money you can transact with as in deposits, or you can take as loans. And then if you want to do more, you want to have more services along with your BVN, then go to a bank and upgrade your BVN to the BVN Premium, which will allow you to do so many other things. My only issue is, you know, the BVN now is, people have advocated that it be used for so many things like sensors, like voting, you know. So if you are insinuating that people might be able to register on their phones or with less data than has been the standard, then how do you must distinguish between the BVN, so that if I, for instance, have a BVN Lite and I walk into another bank, probably a bank that I didn't register in originally, that bank knows that this is BVN Lite. This person has not given all the information that is required for banking, and so it would guide me in the kind of transaction I would do with you.
But see, Fred sent in a text, and I think I'm not sure if he's being sarcastic, but he says BVN equals bank verification number. That's all it is. I mean, it's
but they want it to be so much more.
But they wanted to be. Well, it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be about security, was it not? Was that not the beginning of this entire thing? A number that tells that you are Bunmi and I'm Rotus and this is Fred, this is Yinka and MI and so on.
But they had so much more in mind. You know, with the BVN now, all your bank accounts are linked.
Yes.
Meaning that if you have a loan in one bank, they can tell if you have a loan in another bank.
Yeah, so it's identity now.
It's identity, but what do they do with that? So if you've borrowed money in this bank, for instance, because I know that
we talked about it. If I haven't paid it back, you can go to another bank.
And it can only be done because you have a BVN now. Yes. So what I'm saying is that, so if the BVN, if it's giving you, if they are trying to introduce a new one that gives less information, then the BVN might not be as robust. They might not even achieve the ancillary services that it's supposed to.
Bunmi, I disagree, but I'll just leave it at that. I think Akiyemi is agreeing with you. Akiyemi says basically BVN Lite is to attract new enrollees for light transactions until they are ready to do bigger business when they'll be required to provide complete information. But I won't argue any further. Akiyemi, thank you for the message. I'll just leave it at that. Chris likes you. Says good morning. Bunmi's analysis is so on point. What's our full name and Twitter handle? It's letter D.
The Money Buff.
Money Buff. So D Money Buff. That's from Chris. Okay, we still got a little time. Yinka is let's see what Yinka is talking about. He says Rotus our problems are metaphysical, i.e. an advanced form of spiritual. This is the reason why people like our dear Governor Emefiele won't face or warrant their business. Hence many missteps here and there. He didn't use the word missteps. I had to put that in there. So I was talking to a farmer relative of mine who told me the border closure is a good thing on paper, but they haven't seen anything in returns, because even those who have no business in farming have now rushed into farming, thereby messing everything up for real farmers, which I think includes reduction in supply of certain items. How could the federal government not have envisioned this? That's from Yinka. Let's see now. Isaac says, I just drove past the National Theatre, seeing the decay face to face. Why would the CBN put such a humongous amount of money, 25 billion, into the venture? This defies any reasonable explanation. Wouldn't it be better to allow private sector run this edifice? Isn't that what you were saying earlier? That you prefer for private sector to do this. This is Chris from Yaba. Most banks already have different account tiers which regulate transaction types. Why use BVN? It says it's a duplication of efforts for me. That's from Chris. All right. Still have a little bit of time here. Kalu Aja wrote an article in Nairametrics. It's very simple. He said, repeal the Land Use Act. He says, agree. You agree? I don't know if we should even. There's not much to go in here. But he says, he's essentially listing reasons why and how it's holding back investments. What you agree? Yeah.
I agree totally because the original intentions were good. It was supposed to make administration of land in terms of sale and purchases easier, but now there's so many bottlenecks. It's expensive. It takes a long time. It's ridiculous, and it hampers transactions. If you want to use your land or your property as collateral for the bank, they hardly ever accept it because putting a legal mortgage on it is difficult and expensive. So if they cannot repeal the act, then at least make it easier for people to transact using their properties.
Right. Thank you for that. Ifeanyi comes back again and said, please, how does one invest in commercial papers? That's, you go to your bank.
You go through your bank. You go through your bank, but you must make sure that the commercial paper is rated. So based on the rating of the commercial paper, you can then decide to invest in it or not. Because
usually this is the money market fixed income instrument that's offered by mostly corporations. I mean,
yes, but if you go to FMDQ, you will see the list of commercial papers that are currently available for sale.
Cool. So if Kenneth Ifeanyi do go out there and check it out, FMDQ, and see what's listing. Let's see. This is from Randolph. I was speaking with my friend over the weekend. He advised that in preparation for 2020, I should convert my Naira savings to dollars because, according to him, exchange rate will skyrocket. Is this a good plan? From Ernest. Now, I wouldn't say, I'll admit I've been preaching this dollar thing for a while, but I wouldn't say you should convert all his savings. What do you think?
Well, I think that if you have obligations in dollars, then it might be fine.
Like school fees.
Yes, exactly. But if you don't, you're converting your dollars, what kind of interest rate will you get on the dollars?
Right. All right. Randolph. He has two names. Ernest. So we'll go with Ernest. That's your answer there. Bunmi, it's been great having you back. Again, her Twitter handle is D as in the letter Delilah, D Money Buff, BUFF. Thank you for joining us again. I hope to see you again soon. And thank you all for your messages. See you tomorrow. Business Express. Smooth idea for one.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, see, the extra 20 minutes has given us more gist time.
I gave you extra 10 seconds.
You are very generous.
Thank you.
So much traffic. And I thought I was early.
Yeah, it's. I think I avoided a little bit of it anymore, but I saw a bit of it. Some construction.
Well, I'm like, how can you have construction at this time? It doesn't make sense. Rush hour, busy.